Well, hello. Happy Tuesday, September 2nd. I just realized I hadn't turned my calendar yet to September. How are you guys? Glad you're here. Glad you're joining us. We're a few minutes late. I had a little technical issue, but it seems like we're all good. You try to do what you think is going to be better equipment, and then there's a little few little hiccups here and there, but I'm excited to be with you guys. I don't know how many of y'all are out there, and I know sometimes you guys watch it in the replay, which is wonderful. And remember, you guys can always share this. It lives on my Beverly Holloway Casting Facebook page. Hi, Katie. Good to see you. And then also YouTube. So feel free if you get some information that you think is helpful, or someone comes to mind that you think it will be useful for. Share it, tag them. That would be wonderful as we grow our little Tuesday family. Hi, Karen. Great to see you, North Carolina. You guys, has weather mellowed out? You guys are doing okay, hopefully. Hi, Valerie. Really good to see you. Hope the kids are doing well. Are they back in school now? I know you homeschool, but a lot of the homeschool families I know get back into the routine at a similar time as the public schools or private schools. So I'm guessing maybe they're back in school. Hi, Carolyn. Great to see you. So today or tonight, hi, Ali. Good to see you. And Nishika Vanderpool. I think, yeah. Karen, we're doing well. Good. Yes, gonna see you in a couple of weeks. I'm excited. It actually so Creative Exchange is coming up just a few weeks away. I can't wait. 18, 19, 20, and in Nashville, well, Franklin, Tennessee. And I just can't tell you enough what a great time I sincerely think it will be. We always get into some very detailed conversations, and we have the time to explore topics and to take questions and to have a dialogue. So I'm really looking forward to that. That isn't always the case at conferences, but this one is very different. And Diego basically has built it so that we have a lot of interaction and a lot of dialogue time, and so that it can be very specific to the group that we have. Addressing the things that was weird that you want to address. So yeah, that was really strange. Just went black. So tonight, I'm happy to answer any questions. So please feel free to put questions in the comments. And I will keep an eye on them and answer your questions. I wanted to tell you about a really interesting body language video, or a video that was originally posted by Sean Sharma, who he plays posted a video that was an interview with a body language expert. And I haven't even watched the whole thing because the whole video is, I think it's over 2 hours long. And I'll try to remember to post a link on my Beverly Holloway casting page so that you can find it more easily. But it was so far has been very, very interesting. And a lot of application for actors, anybody who is in front of people or who is in front of a camera, a lot of insights as to what our body language communicates about us, whether we intend for it to communicate that or not. So some things we communicate having no idea what we're communicating because it's just a part of our natural physicality and our natural habits, or just the way that our body is um, physically made up, that when the more you learn about it, the more you can learn what your strengths are, and then maybe point out those things that are not as strong that you can count. So I'm wondering if that is lagging, because my screen is going out every once in a while and I'm not quite sure what's happening. But um, she was talking about she has a naturally downturned smile. So in her natural, just relaxed facial expression, her smile turns down, her mouth, the corners turn down. And so without meaning to, or without it being anything intentional, she naturally, when she's just kind of no expression, looks mad or upset or tired. She says she gets a lot of comments like, "Are you tired? Are you okay? Are you upset?" When in reality, she's just relaxing her face. I have the same thing. So you can see when I just relax my mouth and I don't, the corners of my mouth turn down. And so she was commenting that, again, without knowing it, we may be creating a presence that feels standoffish, or that is perceived as negative, or um, someone being upset. And so she has learned to naturally turn up the corners of her smile kind of on a regular basis. And so rather than here where it's downturned, she just kind of does a slight little smile. So it's still somewhat neutral, but it's uh it helps to look either neutral or slightly warm and friendly and inviting. She had a lot of different insights like that. The other one was, some people, I do this. I tend to have a furrowed brow and I have a really deep groove here. Excuse me. And so that can cause me to look concerned or upset, um, or like thinking really hard. And most of the time, I don't even really know that I'm doing it. And so that is something that I had realized about myself. So I do try to brighten my eyes up a little bit, because I know that my natural countenance is a little more furrowed. You see this? And I have hooded eyelids. So my eyes can tend to look kind of heavy or tired. And so I have a habit of slightly raising my eyebrows, positive rather than anything negative. But it was really, really interesting to further understand those details that we don't even really know that we're doing. And if you've ever been if told, oh, that person is standoffish, or that person is um, shy, it could be just the physicality that we're putting off. And so people perceive that, even though that may not be accurate. Um, so yeah, it was very interesting. I'll post it because as I was watching it, I was thinking it would be very helpful for you actors to understand those cues, not just from a performance standpoint, but even just your countenance, your presence in a conversation, and in, when you're on set, or when you're meeting people, or you're going for an interview, doing an audition, just understanding how to maximize your strengths and minimize the any sort of negatives or challenges that you might have in the as far as your body language. So it was very interesting because the other thing that she mentioned is, when you're at a table or you're doing an interview, to keep your hands on the table. Now, right now you can't see my hands because the camera is too high, but I do talk with my hands. So you see my hands quite a bit, just because I I don't know if I can talk without my hands. But she was mentioning that anytime that you're in a conversation and you put your hands below the table, so to where people can't see you at all. Let me see if I can bend this down. So if you put it below the table, as opposed to being like this, where someone could see your hands, say, kind of pretend this is on top of a table versus down below, the hands being below the tabletop inadvertently cause people to be a little leery, or maybe not trust you as readily, because your brain is automatically thinking, what are they doing with their hands? Are they grabbing something? Why can't I see their hands? When you can see someone's hands, we unknowingly relax a bit because we see their hands. It's very straightforward. There's nothing, we're not questioning anything that they're doing, or any movement that we can't see. So like I said, it was just very, very interesting. I will get a link and I will post it. But I thought that was insightful. And like I said, I haven't gone through the whole thing yet, but I will finish it and then maybe give some notes, highlight notes from the full talk. But yeah, learned a lot so far. Valerie, I've also just read that where your toes are pointing says a lot about your interests. If pointing towards the person, you're interested in the conversation, away, disinterested and bored. See, and isn't that interesting? That's the perception. And that may not actually be true as far as how you're feeling, but that is our perception of someone when we are looking at them. So I think it's good for us to understand and make sure that what we're communicating physically is consistent with what we are intending to communicate, like emotionally and conversationally, and that the two aren't at odds with each other. Let's see, Bob, greetings from Nashville. Yep, where a Hallmark Christmas movie just wrapped. I was fortunate to be part of the audience. Filmed at the Grand Ole. Oh, that's fun. Is it the Opry, Grand Ole Opry Christmas? I think they were just filming there. That sounds fun. I went to the Grand Ole Opry the last time when my husband and I went there on a recent trip. I'd never been there for one of the actual just regular weekly Opry concerts, and it was wonderful. A wide array of different acts. Some people I knew, some people I didn't. It ended with Vince Gill. I love Vince Gill, and so it was a real pleasure, and just so much history in that building. If you guys haven't been to Nashville and even Franklin. Franklin has so much rich history, American history in and around there. You can take a walking tour and see various different historical sites just within the area of downtown Franklin. It's a really wonderful town. If you haven't been there before, I would encourage you to make that a stop the next time you're in the Nashville, Tennessee area. Let's see. So far I'm not seeing any questions. So let me tell you, we did open up our coaching spots back up, so they are available for booking. I've seen a few come through from a couple of people who are on here tonight. I can't wait to work with you and be able to spend some time. It really is great to be able to be one-on-one, because then rather than talking in general terms and trying to make sure I'm covering all my bases when I'm answering a question, I'm able to be very, very specific to your situation and your question and how it applies to your career, your path specifically. So that's one of the really great things about the one-on-one coaching, as opposed to needing to be a little more general. Usually I am. So hi, Sam. Good to see you. Hello from Maple Ridge, British Columbia. Hi, Rod. Good to see you. Jenny, yeah, if you grew up in Nashville, it would be very, very different. My husband was born and raised here in the Boise area, and he he says it's really unrecognizable from how it was. Still beautiful, still wonderful, but very different having grown up there. All right, Deidre from Dallas. So those of you from Texas, when do your incentives kick in? I realize that I am not up on the latest on that. So I don't know if they're already kicking in as far as the tax incentives. I'm hoping that you'll see a little push in production and things heat up a bit. I'm feeling some momentum and some things that are getting going, and that's encouraging from my point of view. I'm hoping you guys are feeling the same thing. Certainly not back to where we've been previously, but better than maybe the last 6 months have felt. There's seems to be a lot more getting getting funded, getting greenlit, and getting off the ground. So that's encouraging, I think. Yeah, Deidre, new studio coming to Dallas. Yeah, there is a lot of investment is being made in that area. And that's great. That's wonderful. There's a lot that can be shot in Dallas. Hi, Grace. Good to see you. How's that second monologue book coming along? If you probably remember, Grace wrote a monologue, clean and some clean, some faith friendly. Well, they're all clean, but some are just kind of family clean, but not necessarily faith oriented monologues. Others are a little more faith oriented, but she has a book, Clean Cuts, 100 Monologues. If you guys are interested in that, you can get it on Amazon, or you can message Grace Covington directly and she'll let you know how to get it. So yeah, let's see. Jenny, last edition I had said local to Nashville meant a Tennessee driver's license and address. I thought I needed a Nashville address. The incentives are for the state of Tennessee, not the city of Nashville. So most of the incentives are that way. They're state, not city. So for example, Atlanta, the incentives are for the state of Georgia, not just the city of Atlanta. So that would be the same way on Tennessee. So, but Production probably wants to keep their local hires to a decent driving distance for turnaround reasons and just for reliability reasons. So they may be requiring that it be local to Nashville, not just a Tennessee driver's license. So there's a couple things when you're talking about local hire, a couple things that you have to take in consideration, not just what the tax incentives, the rules of the tax incentives are, but also the needs of that specific production and how far away are you from where production is. Um, is it is it something where it's like nights and they don't want you driving 2.5 hours to home in the morning? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why they might want to keep it to a much more true local than someone who may still be in Tennessee, have a Tennessee driver's license, but maybe a couple hours outside of the actual production location. So let's see. Rod, you have her book. That's great. Grace, you say, I'm working on another script currently, but Clean Cuts Volume 2 is definitely coming. Awesome. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. Okay, let's see. Question. Congrats on a week away. Thank you. You guys, I love the series. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to see it yet. It's streaming on Angel, on the Angel streaming platform. I just think the subject matters, while it's fun and it, at moments it's very light and playful, but there are other times where it's deep and profound, and I love that combination. The cast, the music, it's just I personally love it. It's my kind of thing. I'm a musical person. I love music. I love I get it's one of the ways that God communicates to me is through song. And I don't know if it's just because when you're singing, you're concentrating and you can close your eyes, and I just feel a connection through music that I don't necessarily all. So, question. As an actor and songwriter, does casting ever look for actors who can contribute to songwriting too? Casting would not. So, in the case of A Week Away, the producer, Alan Powell, or director, Alan Powell, and producers, Alan Powell and Steve Barnett, they were open to some input from Cozy Zulsdorf, who plays the female lead, who is a songwriter herself and a musician, very, very talented. And it just ended up that they just vibed on what the tone was and the style, and she was able to contribute in a way that felt very, very organic and very appropriate for what Alan was building and Adam Watts, the songwriter. And so that worked out that way, but she had to kind of put herself out there and say, hey, could I try writing a song for this moment? She was already cast in the role. And as the songs were being written, she had some thoughts on the kind of song or the lyrics that could go in that moment based on her character, what her character is experiencing. And so she asked if she could try to write a song or a chorus or contribute in some way. There was no guarantee it would be good and no guarantee that they would use it, but she just asked if she could try, and she did, and they loved it. But that was in the casting process. That was not anything that I was looking at as far as the casting director. Now I know Cozy, and I made that introduction between them just because I know how talented she is on many different levels. But from the casting standpoint, we aren't ever crossing songwriting with the acting. Now, singer, guitar player, musician, anything that's going to be a part of their character in the story or a part of their on-camera performance, then absolutely. And there's a certain kind of type or vibe to a singer-songwriter type musician or performer or artist. And so other than looking for that type of a performer, that type of an artist, a singer, songwriter, artist, I'm looking at that more from a performance standpoint, not as much from an actual songwriting skill standpoint. So, let's see. Not sure what's going on with my sound. Logged out, back in. Oh, sorry. Hopefully it's not me because I'm seeing a couple of little quirky things on my end. So hopefully it's not bad. Okay, good. So let's see. See another question from Nishaika. I'm going to be at ICVM. Okay, yay. Looking at the monologue challenge. It's been a while since I've had to do a monologue. Everything has been a life of sides, copy. Yep. Any suggestions on monologue suggestions? I'm going to be at ICVM looking at the monologue challenge. It's been a while. Oh, okay. Any suggestions on monologues? Stick to my branding, comedy, plays, cinema. So we don't care what the material is. My biggest thing, and the one thing I'll tell you, is just choose material that you feel connected to. Choose a monologue, a scene, whatever it is. Choose material that you connect to in an authentic way. You have a pathway to that character and to the scene that makes sense to you, that is uniquely yours. Do not choose based on what you think the audience wants. So honestly, it doesn't matter what we want. We want to see you perform material that you are connected to, and that can be comedy or drama. It doesn't really matter, but I want it to be something that you feel so tied to and is a part of you as far as the character, and I don't mean a part of you as in it has to be like who you are in real life. What I mean is that you're able to inhabit the character in a way that you just become that character. And not every monologue is that way. Some monologues are easier. Some characters are a little bit easier. Sometimes you read a scene or a monologue and you say, "Oh, I totally know how I'd play that," or "I can totally envision that scene and that situation and that character." That's what we want. I don't want you, "Oh, I think the audience will wanna laugh, so I'll do comedy," or I think, yeah, just choose something that gets you connected and invigorated and, um, excited about diving into it. So that's what I'll say. Let's see. Rod, how important is a certain look for a part over the acting experience? Sometimes they are looking for a very distinctive look, yet the acting is not great. I've heard some show have cast an unknown because of his look and features and hired an acting coach for him on set. If they did that, there would be a specific reason as to why they might do that. Yeah, if it's some iconic character and it's really important that an actor look and resemble some character that the audience will recognize and know, then yeah, they might prioritize look a little more strongly than they would normally. But I don't know very many that they might take a green actor, green meaning less experienced, newer, and get a coach for them simply because they don't have as much experience maybe as some other cast members, or somebody who has been typically working in comedy or maybe comes from like a Disney show and now they're being chosen to do something deeper and very different from what they've typically been doing. So, getting an acting coach and having them work with a coach would be a positive thing, would be a good thing. But I don't know of any that would choose a bad actor because of a look. Like, yeah, I've never experienced that, but I have seen where it's a newer actor and you just want to give them every chance to succeed, so you have them work with a coach. And sometimes you just have a gut feeling about someone, and on paper they don't have tons and tons of experience, but they kind of just have that it factor, and you just feel like there's something really special there. And so you take a chance on that. And again, you put them with a coach just to reinforce that and to, as I said, give them every opportunity for success, which is beneficial for everybody. So let's see, Katie, we live in a right to work state. My daughter is SAG eligible. Is there a point where it would be beneficial that she joins, or should she just stay eligible? She's 7. I, if you're in a right to work state and you're SAG eligible, it doesn't matter your age. I would tell you stay SAG eligible as long as you can. And there is no reason to join until there's a reason to join. What I mean by that is, if there is a project and you are a must join and you then are going to have to complete the process of joining SAG because it's shooting, if you live in a right to work state, but it's shooting in a non-right to work state, then you might be in a situation where you're a must join. And so in order to work on that project, you would have to join SAG. And what that means then is that once you join SAG, you, by virtue of the agreement you sign, the membership, basically, you are agreeing to not work on non-union projects. So to be a person of integrity and a person of your word, then you would no longer do non-union projects. Now, if you are SAG eligible, you live in a right to work state and you mostly work in that right to work state or another right to work state, you don't have to join. And so I would tell you to stay in that place as long as you can. I know people who, I know people who have worked 20 years in SAG eligible and never completely join, because they are in a right to work state. And so that's, you have to make that decision for yourself individually and what's going to be best for you. But I would tell you to not rush into that. Some people think it's an automatic, oh, well, if I just become SAG, then I'm going to have lots of opportunities and auditions are going to be, and it's just not the case. It doesn't necessarily mean all of a sudden all these doors open. But it does mean some doors close. So just be mindful, be informed, and then make that decision as far as when to join, uh, knowing all of the information, having all of the facts. So, but and I would tell you to talk to some other actors, but my initial advice is stay SAG eligible as long as you can, and then decide if the opportunity that if you're doing a project and it's a must join, just decide if that opportunity is worth doing the full, joining SAG full. Let's see. Anything else? Hi, David. So I know we haven't been on very long, but I don't see any other questions you might have. I'll get that link and put it in my Facebook page, Beverly Halloween Casting Facebook page, so that you guys can see the link to the body language expert. But unless there's other questions, let's see, Monica, I was SAG eligible for 10 years before being a must join. I think Bev's advice is great. Gave me a lot more practice. That's a really, really good point, you guys, that Monica's making, which is one of the benefits to not joining too soon is you just get to build your resume, because when you once you join SAG, like I said, you're basically saying you won't work non-union, and that may mean that you don't have as much initially, and you're now competing with people who've been in SAG, for a long time, or might have a lot more experience or credits than you do. So use that time when you're SAG eligible to get as much work and credits and get your reel together. Just take advantage of that and use it to build up everything so that once you are in a position where you have to join, you are ready for that. You have a great reel, you have strong credits, and you're ready to compete with, all of the other SAG actors. What's the best way to find actors who will submit for your casting call? Um, so I put my castings out through the typical breakdown services. So Breakdown Express, Breakdown Services, Actors Access. Breakdown Services goes to the agents, Actors Access direct to the actors. I've said this before, we meaning casting directors don't always put our breakdowns out through Actors Access. It really just depends on how much time we have. As you can imagine, it can take say you're going to get on through breakdown through the agents and managers, maybe you'll get 4,000 submissions. If you open it up to actors, honestly, that can double. And that makes a big, big impact on the amount of time it takes to process all the submissions and to go through them. So sometimes we just don't have the time or the resources to be able to open it up directly to the actors. But I do try to whenever possible. And then, of course, other options like faith-based casting, other casting directors use, like Casting Networks is a little more commercial driven, but LA Casting Networks are the other options, the other choices. But Breakdown Express still tends to be the primary place where we put breakdowns out. So I don't do casting calls where I'm just posting it and saying, email me. I will always do those. I shouldn't say always. I will almost always do them through some sort of casting platform, just because it's a lot to facilitate as far as communication and keeping emails and messages straight, and when the videos come in, putting them all in one place. So I don't do like Facebook casting calls. And I know some do, but I don't do that. There is a new casting platform. I know nothing about it. So maybe someone on here does, called ActorBay, but I don't know anything about it. I just see a few people starting to use it. So you can check it out. Christian Laura May or Christian Casting Community. uh, I think she's posted, Ronnie Hummel has posted about it. It's Jared O'Flaherty who does Vindication. I believe it's something that he's been a part of creating. But like I said, I don't know much about it. I have not been using it, but it could be great. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, and I don't do, as you can imagine, there's so many actors. So the days of like, "Hey, I'll send you my stuff so you can keep it on file," that really isn't as much a thing as it was maybe before when we had our file cabinets and we kept physical copies of a headshot. I do keep information, but I really go off of the submissions each time rather than going back through, unless there's someone that is coming to mind specifically for a role and I want to seek them out and get in touch with them to have them audition. I really focus mostly on the submissions that come in, partially because that tells me that they're available for the dates, they know what the project is, and I don't have to kind of start from the beginning if I'm just kind of going through an open file with people who may have sent it to me 3 years ago. So, that's not really as effective from a casting standpoint. Again, it's not to say that I don't have certain people that when I meet you in person, oftentimes that will be more memorable and I you're more likely to come to mind when I have a role that seems like it might be a specific fit, but the like, here's my stuff, keep it on file, at least for me, is not as practical. I would rather you submit on a specific project that you think you're right for at the time that that project is happening, as opposed to just a general kind of submission. That's just me. Yeah, Venus. Monique has talked about Actor Bay. Brad is saying Actor Bay is great, so you guys can look at that. John Henny says, I'm on Actor Bay. It's legitimate, a useful community. There you go, actorbay.io. So a lot of positive feedback on Actor Bay. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I'll have to check it out one of these days, but I haven't so far. But yeah, it's always good to have options and to, keep things competitive. I think that's always good. Let's see. Valerie says, plus a lot of the more family-friendly, faith-based films, not all, but a lot are non-union. Yeah, and that there's various reasons for that. Some of it has to do with budget. Some of it has to do with sort of a principle thing. There are some producers that just prefer to go non-union. There are various reasons why there tend to be several faith-oriented, family-oriented films that are non-union. I think budget is one of the biggest things. Let's see, Monica, after joining SAG, less opportunity, although they are better. Glad I made the switch, but was good to wait. Yeah, I agree, Monica. Yeah, so you don't have to, when you're looking through SAG casting calls, there's a certain legitimacy to them that you have to be less concerned about, whereas non-union, I mean, it could be anything, and there's not a vetting process for those producers that they have to go through. They're not, with SAG, the producers have to put money on deposit to make sure that the actors, if there's any issue, the actors are made whole. And so there definitely are reasons that being SAG is helpful. So yes, there's probably less casting calls, but they are maybe more legitimate or better budgets that way. Let's see. Okay, well, looks like we answered the questions for today. I'll check out Actor Bay and learn a little bit more myself, but I'm glad it looks like it's a positive thing for a lot of you. So actors, if you want to check that out, John Honey listed the website actorbay.io. Let's see. Yeah, Room 4 is Laura May's app. John Honey, for Actors Access, when there's not specific direction, do you prefer separate files for each scene in the side plus a separate slate, or combine all scenes? Yeah, if there's no direction, then do what's easiest for you, because if the person cares then they would put it in there. And if they don't put it in there, then I think your default should be to do what's easiest for you. And I know it varies. Not everyone is as tech savvy as some. And so for that reason, sometimes it's easier to not do separate files, um, or vice versa. But if there's no instruction, then I say you do what's easiest for you. I like separate files. That's typically my preference, because I have a little more control over what I show the directors and which takes, and it's easier to maneuver. But I will put that in my instructions if it's that important. Um, so yeah, if it's important to the casting director or the producer, then they'll write it, and if they don't, then do what is best for you. Brad, I was cast for Vindication, the special through Actor Bay. Great. Yeah, I know Jared Vindication, that's what he uses. So that's great. Yeah, a lot of people are saying really good feedback. Okay, one last question. Didn't get to ask this at Hard Faith Film Festival. I'm working on a project where hiring a CD will be necessary. Is budgeting this, does it go by a project size or per person a set rate? For a feature, commercials are more of a per person, and certainly background is per person. But for casting, for principal casting, the size of the cast is taken into consideration when you're budgeting that, because of course that determines how many roles you're looking for and how long that might take, how many auditions you're going to be going through, of course. And then the overall budget of the project is taken into consideration as well. And then the other thing is, how complex are these roles? So is it, 5 Caucasian businessmen in their 40s? Well, that's simple to cast. But if it's like an older Asian man who speaks with the lisp, or it's a young 5-year-old kid, those start to get more complicated. And so there may be a case where, yeah, it might be fewer roles, but if those roles are very complex and more challenging to cast, then that can come into the budgeting conversation as well. So the answer is yes, it goes by project size, and various things go into how a budget is determined. So your overall budget of the film, the size of the cast, and how complex are those roles to cast, which would equate to how much time are you potentially going to be needing to look for those roles. So, all right, you guys, it's been a good Tuesday night. I hope you all are starting your week out well, and that you had a wonderful weekend, our Labor Day weekend. I really can't believe we're in September. It just kind of blows my mind, but it's still very warm here, so it doesn't feel like fall. I keep kind of willing it to be fall, but it really isn't fall weather yet, but I am very excited for that. And since it's September, I can now technically start to put out my fall decor and things, which I love. So anyway, let's start out the month of September with great attitudes, great hope, understanding that God is in it with you, and that you are enough, and that you are created uniquely you, and that is enough. And yeah, I just hope you'll be an encouragement to each other and pray for each other. And we will see you next Tuesday. Yeah. I'm looking at the calendar. Yeah, nothing going on next Tuesday night. So we will be on, and I look forward to it. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and love you, love you. Bye.